to another edition of Tanya Talks. I'm Tanya Ricketts, your host for this evening, and today we have joining us a guest, Michaela Meno. So thank you, Michaela, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to tonight's topic because we're going to be talking about the courage it takes to be wealthy. But just before we begin, I just really want to say thank you for being here and let the audience know a little bit more about you. So Michaela is a registered massage therapist, a Reiki master, certified yoga teacher, and wellness coach. She's got 20 years experience in the lifestyle and wellness industry, helping people transform their lives on many different levels. She's also the founder of Living Inspired, which hosts book clubs and they do interviews and events, and they have many retreats. She's the co-founder of an online yoga community, which is very large, especially in this pandemic that we're going through, and coaching program that supports the process of self-awareness, self-care, and lifestyle wellness. Michaela is also on Instagram and she's on Facebook, and I'll let Michaela share her Instagram where you can find her. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's simple. It's Michaela Meno.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. I love simplicity.
Yeah.
So Michaela and I have had an offline experience, and it's a conversation that we all talk about on so many levels, wealth. And I've been saying for the last few years, it takes a lot of courage to be wealthy. It's easy to stay small. It's easy to stay broke. It's actually become part of our identity. We don't even realize it unconsciously. We have created an identity about the struggle, being broke. There are so many factors that we've discussed that stand in the way of us being wealthy, us receiving just simple money. And tonight, I'm really looking forward to Michaela, you breaking it all down for us and just really showing us how we can get through this barrier, how we can take a different approach to it. So everybody has a different understanding of what wealth and money means. And I'm just going to let you open up and simply answer the question by saying, what does it mean to have courage to be wealthy?
So, as you know, I am a massage therapist and I am a yoga teacher. And after 2 years of study and experience in energy flow, I just received my Reiki Master certificate. And actually, it was one of the most intense learnings I've ever experienced. And I consider myself to be a lifetime learner.
Mm-hmm.
So I've read a lot of books, like in the past 2 years as an Audible member. If anybody's a bookworm, completely changed my life. I've read over 30 books. So, which is wonderful. So learning is a huge source of joy for me. And also the reason why I want to bring up Reiki and, the courage to be wealthy is because Reiki is a form of energy. And when you are experiencing Reiki healing, you are experiencing an unblock of flow of energy. So you can have stagnant energy, you can have a large amount of energy, but really what you want to have full health is if you can imagine energy moving through your body. So no traps in your energy center. And the same is true for money.
Mm-hmm.
So money, we often associate many emotions with money. We've given it a personality, we've given it a name, many names, right? Many names, good and bad. And so we tend to personify what money is.
Mm-hmm.
And in defense of money, money is just It's truly just an energy
Mhm.
flow. And so if you look at Monergy from that perspective, which is a much more comfortable place for me, we understand that money isn't just tied to our understanding about how to make it, but it's also tied to our relationship to it. So just like it takes courage to build stronger health, stronger vitality, more energy, right? All that takes um, a lot of courage
Yeah.
because you really have to go within. You have to reach out and ask for help. The
Mhm.
same is true about money.
Mhm.
You really have to go within and understand your emotional ties to money, how you see money. You have to also understand the trauma that you have experienced
That's a big one.
with money.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then you also have to understand, are you someone who repels money or attracts money
Mhm.
in your life? Um, so there's so many ways to look at it, but it's really important to understand that there is an emotional understanding of how to create an abundance in your life, and then there's also a point of view of, strategies, right, that we can work at. So we call it emotional IQ and intellectual IQ about how to gain money in your life. And money seems to be this really abstract thing that we don't understand. Like unless you had really, really good teachers in as parents, or you studied finance or business or entrepreneurship, and you just said, money is going to be everything to me. Like my goal is to attain money. But if you're not that person, you may feel like I don't understand money. It comes and goes. What do I want out of money? So, just like anything in life, you have to be very clear with your intention, right?
Mhm.
My intention is to lose 20 pounds,
Mhm.
or my intention is to heal my digestive issues, right? Um, the same is true for money. And what seems to be like a common theme is that everyone feels like they don't have enough, right? And the other one is that they want more of it.
And I think it's also tied to value and worth. I'm going to take it a step back a little bit when you talk about the relationship with money. I can only speak on behalf of some exercises I started doing myself many years ago when I embarked on uncovering and overcoming my own poverty. It was looking at the relationship that I had with money. So I remember taking a stack of money. I did with those clients as well, and I took a bunch of different denominations, and I held it up and I asked myself, what did I feel about this money that I was holding in front of me? What was my relationship? And it was really kind of one of those weird things that you're doing because you're holding money, talking to money. And what I got out of that was
It's
like,
not it's not weird, right?
right, well, when you're doing it,
Because money, right, but
right,
it's not weird because money has an energy to it.
right.
So you
And what
were
came out of it, and I wondered how many more people, like when I started to do this with clients, it was so profound to see what came out of it for everybody. That relationship when you're looking at this money in
that's right,
front of you,
that's right.
and it became the story that I've carried my whole life, where it was like I couldn't trust it. It doesn't stay in my life. It always leaves. I'm not worthy of it. And it was the same feelings that I had about myself for a lot of other areas of my life. It was like this common theme. So it really had nothing to do with money. It was like you can have the money, but I can't. It was like good things can happen to you, but they don't happen for me. So it was that, and it was so eye-opening to see. what people were saying to themselves when they looked at money. And it really wasn't about the money, it was about the belief they had of themselves, of their worthiness that they brought into the relationship of money.
Right. Right.
It was the most profound thing.
So actually, what you're talking about is actually what I believe is the first step in understanding what's holding you back from experiencing abundance, right? Because money
Mhm.
is an energy. So, what's holding you back from experiencing abundance? And you hit the nail on the head when you said, you know, something we all struggle with at one point in our life or another is, am I worthy?
Mhm.
Am I worthy of abundance? Am I worthy of being comfortable in my life? Am I worthy of saying what I have is enough? Am I worthy of wanting more? Am I worthy to speak my dreams? Am I worthy to say, I want to be a millionaire? Or am I worthy to say, I'd actually rather sell on my possession
I think you're breaking up there a little bit.
away freely. So there's a lot of things that I'm here. Yeah, you're breaking up. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Um, I seem to have a good internet connection. Let me just double check. Yeah. So worthiness is really, really important. So understanding how I feel about money right now. Like, where am I at right now? My bills to put food on the table. And sometimes, I think most of the time, that's where people feel like they have enough, and they actually spend a lot of time worrying about the future when it comes to money, worrying about where the abundance will come from. But if you can change your language and actually trust that money is a flow, right? Then you can let go of worrying about the future, because in the present moment, money is showing that you have enough to provide.
Mhm.
So that that comes with doing some work. But I think that's the first step, is to really look at your belief system surrounding money, and and then you've got to go a little bit further, because if you do notice, okay, I've uncovered my beliefs about money, like there's never enough money. There's never enough. I feel like I'm always hustling, right? Hustling to pay that bill. Um, when you have a bill coming and you can't pay it, what does that do to your body? What does that make you feel? What are you experiencing? Getting hit with an unexpected tax bill or unexpected, invoice that you weren't expecting. How's that making you feel in your body? And so the reason why we have to go a little bit deeper is because we do have to uncover the programming that we received as children. So my programming, for example, was quite different because I did have a lot of confidence. It was something I had as a child, and I just knew that part of my purpose was going to be following my heart. I never really worried about where the money was going to come from, because I had this inner knowing that if I do the work I'm supposed to be doing, then the money will follow.
Right.
Now, that was very different mindset from how I was raised, because both my parents were immigrants. My mom came to the country not speaking the language. She was 15. My father was 18. 21. He followed and didn't speak the language. And, they both had nothing. But what they did have was, they did have abundance. They did have family support, so to speak, right? But
Mhm.
they were both immigrants, and they came with the belief system that you also had to work very hard to make money. So
Mhm.
those things were instilled in me, that even above education, like you have to work hard
Mhm.
to make money. So I saw my father work very hard. I saw my mother work hard. Um, and it was always just enough, right? So I was a bit of a bigger personality. I wanted to take lessons. I wanted to be involved, in school. I wanted to, get a job where I was learning, where I could put my energy into schoolwork. And they weren't really able to support that part of my spirit. So
Right.
I built up some resentment and anger surrounding money
Right.
and how limited it was, right? And the other thing was, my father was a union worker,
Okay.
and it was pounded in us, you have to choose to work for a large institution so that you can get, the retirement protection you need and live this very protected life, always supported. And I was taking a very different path. I was looking into entrepreneurship,
Mm.
sole proprietorship. And so I also had very little intellectual IQ about how to start my own business. But what I had going for me was my emotional IQ. I just knew that energy was a flow and it would come. But I didn't understand how you could use
Are you?
energy. So when I started my own business and I had to borrow in order to get myself, there was a lot of guilt and shame I had to overcome. I had to do that secretly. I didn't want my family to know because, they wouldn't understand. So I had a lot of guilt and shame surrounding money too.
Mhm.
And so you can't expect for money to flow. You can't expect for money to come to you if you don't invest in yourself as well, right? That's why, we invest heavily and in our family members, we're in a place where we could do that now, right? And so those were some of my limited beliefs and my money traumas that
Mhm.
I had to go through. And I would have to say one of my own kind of money traumas I had to go through was borrowing to see myself succeed,
Mm.
right? And feeling like I was, tapping into an energy I didn't have yet. But
Mhm.
thankfully, money also showed me that the money will always come back in. So my next hurdle was, okay, well, I have enough and I get to that next level. And so it's interesting because with money, you cannot grow unless you do the work.
Mhm.
Just like with health and healing, you cannot grow. You cannot be happier unless you do the work. And it's truly a wonderful teacher. So again, like you really have to be open to understanding what your limited beliefs are. Where did you come from? Like you said yourself, like you had to overcome poverty, right? And sometimes I find like those people too are amazing because they have nothing, right?
Yes.
I mean, even you who experienced poverty, like I know people who were abandoned, as children. And because they experience such loss too, they have no fear of loss
Mhm.
because who they define themselves isn't about how much money they have. So that's the other thing too, is we often attach who we are to the amount of money we have. So we don't talk openly about money. We don't talk about if we're struggling with money
And a lot of
or if
times
we
we
need
don't
help
even
with money.
realize, like when you talk about the energy, we don't even realize as human beings, and I know even for myself overcoming my own poverty, was we don't realize when we talk about our identity being attached to money, we don't realize that we spend more time creating the energy of broke. We don't have enough. We're barely meeting our bills.
Right.
We've got this. I can't. When something comes up, most people, if they're very open and aware, their first thought is, how am I going to be able to afford that? I can't afford that.
Right. Where
Versus,
an abundance person will think the money is on its way.
well, they're already rich, right? Too, right? Like,
But I'm saying specifically if they're
yes, absolutely.
wanting
Right.
to
And I
something,
remember going through my own,
saying the money's on its way.
yes, on its way. And when you're going through your own process, for anybody out there, just on an everyday, daily basis, when I understood the concept that a lot of people shop at Costco worldwide, a lot of people go to Walmart, shop like, the drugstore, wherever, the grocery store. When you are buying groceries, for instance, you are changing currency for something in return. But I started to become happy because I was now contributing to somebody else's wealth by keeping somebody's job alive. And when I started to give and be thankful that I could contribute to somebody else's wealth and success through my purchases, it
Yeah,
reshaped everything. I didn't feel so bad picking up that one extra thing.
that's right. And the great money teachers like Lynn Twist, The Soul of Money, and um, and Happy Money by Ken Honda, like they talk about that. And they talk about how we have to feel good about money coming in and money going out. So you really have to ask yourself, right? And you have to ask yourself, what is your relationship to spending?
Mhm.
What is your relationship to receiving, right? So what are you going to do with the money when it comes to you? And what are you doing with the money as it goes out? So it really is a beautiful practice to be thankful, right? And so again, it comes back to what's going on in here, right?
Mhm.
Like if you're experiencing a lot of fear, worry, stress, anxiety, you're going to be feeling all that when it comes to money too. But what's happening is you're actually repelling flow and energy um, to come in. So you're repelling energy to come in. So it, take this pandemic for example, right? A lot of people are worried about how they're going to get paid, how they're going to make money, um, you know. But if you were someone who were able to dip into the government funding, that's something to be really grateful for, even if it is a huge income loss, right? And then there were people who haven't been able to tap in at all. So they're tapping into their savings, they're tapping into their future. And they might have some negative feelings associated with that rather than saying, thank you that at least I have a reserve that I can use for this day. So it truly is a mindset. And the other thing is, you've heard me say this before, Tanya, there's I believe, hashtag COVID blessings, because, when you're home as a creative person and you can't work for your boss or for your company,
Right.
you can think about creative ways to work for you. What can I do? And
Mhm.
maybe it's not making money, but maybe it's finding a way to give money, you know? So
So I
you
find
have to
oftentimes a lot of
really,
people, they're not challenged with giving. A lot of people are actually good at giving. It's the receiving part. And I say this for a lot of things, not just with money. Energy goes in and goes out. You have two hands, one for giving, one for receiving. And
very
when
important.
we give
Yeah,
out, and you labeled it as being leakage, we can come up with many different terminologies. You have to find the one that works for you, but we have to realize that our most of us human beings, we're closed on the receiving. but we're giving out. So you're giving out and you're not filling in. There's an imbalance right there. And
Right. And you'll see that a lot. Like, so how does this translate, right? What we're talking about. So if you're working for someone, you'll see that people will overextend their energy input into their job so that they can be noticed. For example, they'll work 12, 14-hour days and they'll go on and on about it because for, energetically speaking, if you work harder, if you give more, right, then you feel more validated.
mm,
So collectively, a lot of us have this limited belief that we have to work really, really hard to make money. We have to work really, really hard to get noticed. But the truth is, if you're someone who's respected and you're doing your job right, wouldn't you rather get noticed by being
I think you're breaking up there.
and
I think we
grateful
missed it. We missed
for
it.
the work that you are doing?
So we missed that. Say that
Yeah,
again.
you're breaking up.
Wouldn't you want?
Yeah, so I think that where people fall short is they overextend, right? They work really, really hard to get noticed rather than putting their energy into being someone who says, you know what? I'm really grateful for this job. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. And giving a note to someone and just doing that. That goes a much longer way. It's a lot less painful than saying, you know what? I'm going to work an extra 4 hours today. I'm going to make sure they notice I'm logging off later so they know how much I appreciate this job.
Right. And energy go.
Right? So, can you hear me?
Yep. And energy goes where energy flows where you're thinking. And I think that what I'd like to
Right.
see society do, the audience out there that wants to attract more, is to focus on receiving, because there are most people that have challenges receiving are very generous. So it's almost like
Right. And
a
you
moment
see this, you actually see this more in the entrepreneurial or sole proprietor, um, where a lot of emphasis is placed on networking and giving and going above and beyond. And again, we do that to prove that we're worthy of the work we're doing.
right.
And so that's where the leakage is going, right? So I often say, whatever you're doing, be very, very clear with what your intention is. So if you're in a role and you want to be working toward growth within a company, you need to be very clear about your intention. Or else, don't be upset if you're in the same role 5 years later, saying, "Where's my promotion? Where's the cash? Like, where's the money? Why didn't any money come to me for 5 years?" And it's usually because you weren't very clear with where you want to go. Just take a moment to even ask yourself, how much do you think you're worth
Mhm.
as a
And
money currency? And a
right.
lot of people feel undervalued, that they're not getting paid enough doing what they're doing.
But a lot of
Okay,
people, and I know even for myself, a lot of people actually, we know we're wealthy on the inside. We know we can't clearly articulate what our value is. So
mhm,
we're kind of caught with having to define it all. And I know a lot of people in the situation
right,
where in their soul, so this is energy, in their soul, they are already rich.
right. So how do we
But there's
so,
the disconnect between that
ah,
truth
okay.
inside.
So the thing is, we have to be working toward a goal. So
Mhm.
if you already feel rich in your spirit and you're saying, how am I going to allow this energy, this abundance to flow into my life, you have to be very, very clear with how you want to see it manifest in your life as well. So energetically, how can money come to me? So I'll share with you what I've been working on personally, because you know what, we all are where we are with feeling abundance and wealth, and we all are where we are when it comes to where we want to go with our money, right? So I'm, I mentioned Lynn Twist, The Soul of Money, beautiful book. Also, Leanne Jacobs' Beautiful Money is a beautiful 4-week program toward helping you understand the energy of your money.
Mhm.
And then again, I mentioned, what's his name again? Sorry, Ken Honda. Fabulous book. I just finished it. Happy Money. But I also want to mention Louise L. Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. And she talks about money blocks and energy blocks in the body all the time. So something I came to realize that part of my feeling wealthy, because if I have to work hard, I will work hard, because that's how my old programming is. But as I start to really do the healing work, as I started to do the real healing work, I was like, you know what? I don't want to work this hard. How do I situate myself in a way that money will flow through me? I can still do the work that I love, but money will flow through me in many different channels as well. And so it took a little bit of work. So saying the affirmation, believing it, but also where do I want this money to come from? So we can say we already feel rich inside, and that's wonderful. But what you're also saying is I have enough, because everything I have, I already need. So really, if money isn't coming to you, it's because you already feel so abundant in your spirit. So you're saying I have enough. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So you have to be working towards something. You have to be working toward a goal. So for example, you could say, and it doesn't have to be realistic. It could be in 5 years' time, I want my mortgage paid off, right? Rather than 25, 30 years' time. Okay, well, how can I situate myself intellectually so that that can happen? And how can I situate myself emotionally so I can allow that to happen? So you have to have a very specific goal. You could also say you can only make money, through working. So a lot of people just have one stream of income coming in, right? People who are living abundant lives don't have one stream of
Say that
income.
again. You broke
They
up
have
there. So people
many
that are living
streams of
abundant
income.
lives.
So I started thinking, sorry. Yeah, so most people, right, they have one stream of income. And then when that stream of income dies off, like they lose their job or they don't want to work there anymore, they have no money flowing into their life. So something I was really interested was looking at really wealthy people and understanding that they had more than one way of making money. So they had their jobs, they had their investments, maybe they also had other investments that were promoting cash flow. And so your job or your creative projects that you're getting can be a big source of enjoyment, because even though people think what would make them happy is if they, that's not true. We all need value. We all need to feel as though we're contributing. But maybe you feel like, well, my passion isn't going to make me the money I want right now. But maybe if I had other streams of income, like a consistent job making me a paycheck every 2 weeks, it would give me the space, the security I need to feel in my body to create, right? To do the work that's in alignment with my heart. Because the other thing we associate too with following our passion
Yeah.
is that it'll never make us the money we'll make. And if you're not believing that, somebody in your circle is telling you.
Right.
So sorry, go ahead if you want to.
Well, I think when I'm listening to you, what comes to my mind is um, I think a lot of times with the whole, I'm going to take it back to the receiving bit with the intention and the vehicles, because it still has to do with a flow coming into you. And
Yeah,
it has to be a level of belief where there are two things. Number one, we have to be honest with ourselves. When we receive money, we're happy. And people are like, oh, it's not about the money, it's this, that. But the truth is, when people really feel like when they have money coming into them,
it does make them happy.
people are happy. So they have to understand that in order for that to still happen, they have to have the courage to admit to themselves, to tell themselves the truth that I like when I deserve number one,
Right.
deserving bit. I
That's great.
deserve to be happy.
Deserving. And
And I,
also, these are people that also have the limiting belief that money and enjoying money is bad.
right. So
Right.
I
So it's usually unhealed trauma
yes,
that takes us right back to repelling money. Like
right.
I'll never forget a friend saying, I wish we didn't have to deal with money at all. But even when we didn't deal with money, there was still this exchange that people had to deal with. So
Right.
no matter what, you're always dealing with exchange in life. You
Right.
know,
And I think that
if,
people need to be honest.
if you don't want to deal with money,
Yeah.
yeah.
They have to be
And so, okay, so if your intention is you do not want to deal with money in order for you to be happier, what is it going to take for you to do that?
mhm,
So you have a few options. You can sell everything you own and go buy a piece of land and live off $1,000 a year. And if that's what it takes for you to be abundant, then that's what it takes.
mhm.
But, if you want to live in a city, most likely you're going to get more money flow coming toward you because there's so much more energy going on in a city. There's so much more flow of energy that the money will come to you, right? And the money also will pour out of you. And you have to be okay with that.
Mhm.
So, anyways, so going back to creating an intention, right? So you say, okay, well, I never thought about that being possible for me from, a one income home or a two income home, where money was just based on the paycheck that was brought in every 2 weeks, right? Like there was always just enough. You never think about, well, what if I expand my consciousness to think I can have more than enough? What would I do with that money? Because money always wants a place to go as well, right? And so I believe if you have intention and purpose with what you want to do with money, it will come to you, just like creative ideas.
Right.
If you act on a creative impulse, it'll come to you. But if you don't, that creative idea will leave and go to somebody else. So I really became interested in learning how to build multiple ways to make money because I'm a massage therapist, I'm a yoga teacher, I'm a Reiki healer, what else am I forget what else I am. I'm a coach as well. So again, I was really excited about utilizing my skills and bringing more in, being able to offer more. So the more we give of ourselves, the more we're able to
Mhm.
receive as well. So a lot about receiving money is also about opening your heart, right? Because what people don't understand is there are very scarcity minded,
Mhm.
millionaires out there. They do nothing with their money. They just hoard it because they're so afraid of losing it.
Right.
And then what's the point? They're not happy. They're not living free.
Right.
So, what will it take for you to have happy relationship with me? And you talked about a beautiful thing that speaks about as well, which is blessing money in and blessing money out. And the term in Japanese is arigato. And so if you begin to thank money as it comes into your money, thank money as it goes out, you'll begin to receive more
Right.
rather than saying, oh, I hate paying my bills. Why do I have to pay my bills? But realistically, you have to understand someone is providing service. You can be grateful for that service. Even look till the very last day that you owe that money, or do you pay your bills as you come in? I'm of the character, I like to pay my bills. Sorry, can you hear me? I don't
I
know why
can.
the
I know
internet
the
connection
character
is so
that I want to say. I can hear you.
sorry. Where did I leave off?
Do you pay your bills on time or do you wait? Oh,
Yeah,
no,
so do
when
you
they
pay
come
your
in.
bills when they come in? Me too. And I do that and I bless everyone and all the people involved that are able to help me, provide for my family and provide for my business and provide for me. And I do the same with everything that I purchase, everything that I have to pay for.
So I
And the
think a lot of
beautiful
people are learning
thing
to
about an
be in that
entrepreneur is you
space.
really get to work with the energy of money because you see,
I think you're breaking up there.
sorry, I'm here. You go.
Well, I
I'm gonna
think what
check on my
happens a lot of
internet.
times is I agree with you that how do you perceive bills when they come in? Do you pay them on time? Do you um, do you delay them down to the last minute? Like, what is that relationship like? In addition to that, I also feel that money, there has to be a level of money where you have to just be honest. I hear a lot of people say that it's not about the money. I'm switching gears a little bit because I think this is really important for the audience to know. And a lot of people will say, especially being in Canada, we're not a more capitalistic nation. We're more complacent, socialistic. So we're not surrounded with that mentality that it's okay. We come from a very even plane. So if you go outside of that box to think that you are going to take a chance to go and create wealth for yourself, it's almost frowned upon. So their whole narrative is it's not about the money. So right there, you're resisting it. And I find that when people start to be honest with themselves about it being about the money, then they can attract it into it because it's an energy, it's a feeling that okay, I'm
Right.
resigned, I've reconciled that it can be about the money. Like this is what we're talking about. So not everybody is going to want to be an entrepreneur, not everybody, but they still want to be able to receive money and feel good about receiving money, whatever that is.
Yeah, and right, and the reality is, if you're really comfortable with how money is flowing in and out of your life, it's wonderful. But I would say to people, I think that's great. That's great that you don't want more and you don't want any less. But what is your relationship like to money?
Right. Right.
You
And some
should
people are
have,
comfortable because I know people right now that it maybe they want just a little bit more. They're not looking like you said to work hard for anything. They're actually content. They
right?
just want to get rid of that bad feeling. And I think that that's what it is that bad feeling or stopping the leakages of when money
Right.
comes in, that other things are coming into their life to eat away at the extra that they have. So it's not just for the entrepreneurs, it's just, I think what you say is that entire relationship. And even for those people that are not necessarily entrepreneurs or looking for that extra stream of income, I find that when people, and you hit it on the nail, and I love you for this because you're very, very good at keeping people zeroed in on the directness of the intention.
Right.
So,
Yeah. If you sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but if
yeah,
you were to continue to ask me how do I change my relationship with money,
yes,
I would say you need to do some work.
right. Absolutely. And you're very, so I like the idea of what you say with be direct and say exactly what you want. So
Yeah.
if you want, I'm just going to say, because not everybody in the audience is going to go for entrepreneurship or multiple streams of income. So if you wanted $500 in your life, for instance, you better be very clear of that $500 that you want coming into your life.
Totally.
You better be accepting and not just, I want to attract more money. Well, what do you want? Do you want $1?
Right.
Do you want $2? Because a lot of people say I want more money. They find 10 cents on the floor. You've just
But
got
God
them.
bless that 10 cents. Pick it up. Or are you someone who's going to walk by it and be like, oh, I don't want
Absolutely.
that?
So I like the way that you're really framing it of the intention,
Yeah.
of the directness of it. No,
Right.
what I'm looking for is I would like to receive $500 in my life.
Yeah.
How am I going to do that? One of the key components I have found to this entire equation, coupled with what you said with the directness of it,
Yeah.
is the letting go.
Huge.
I feel that that is huge. Once you set your intention, go about your business, it
Right.
will come to you. I'm
Right. And
willing
so
to.
the letting go part goes a little bit deeper too, right?
Mhm.
So once you start uncovering what your limited beliefs are, what your money trauma is, the stories you've been telling yourself about money, and the people you're blaming about your money stuff too.
Yes,
So
the blame.
the blame, the shame,
Yes,
there's so much, right? But once it comes into your conscious awareness, right, you can then be like, okay, now I understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling.
yes,
And then you can say, the next step is, I want to let go of this story and I want to create a new one. And that's going to be really, really, it's going to feel uncomfortable at first because
that's
this
the
program,
courage.
yeah, but this programming, it has been there for so long. So to break it down is going to take some courage, like you said. But how do we also find courage? So you can go within to find courage, right? You can go within, you can deepen your relationship with the universe, you can deepen your relationship with yourself, right? Because you're bringing all this awareness up. So it's wonderful. You can also deepen your relationship with God and say, God is my provider, right? But you can take it a step further and say, okay, now that I have the courage to talk about this, to bring it up, to heal it, to let it go, to focus on forgiving, right? So even though I say, my resistance came from my parents, my lack of understanding was because of my parents, blah, 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 I can also go full circle and say they were doing the best they
Of
could.
course.
And they were working on their own, financial abundance. And they were creating that for themselves. And they may have felt financially abundant, coming from nothing. So that's really, really important when you can come out the other side of it and say, I forgive them, right? And there's a lot of other elements to forgiveness, but we'll start there.
We'll simplify it.
We're
when
going
we
to
can
simplify
forgive
it and say,
ourselves, even
right, the
looking at
process of
ourselves,
letting go requires a lot of forgiveness.
right?
And you might also have to forgive your money, right? If your money comes to you with fear, if your money leaves you with anger, you're going to also have to forgive that process. That's really, really important. Because if you can start to see money as a means to a flow, then the money you spend, it's going to come back to you,
Mhm.
right? Either directly or indirectly, right? Money flows freely and comes to me from many directions. Can be one of your affirmations that you're constantly saying in your mind to try and help rewire your brain. So, a very important process to that letting go element that you're talking about is going a little bit deeper and focusing on who in my life do I need to forgive, and do I need to forgive money? Because the thing is, a lot of people experience trauma due to money because they saw maybe their parents unable to make ends meet. So they blame money
Mhm.
for a lot of their negative experiences. So I agree with you that, that a huge part of it is the internal piece, tapping into that source, tapping into what your limited beliefs are, tapping into your trauma, forgiving the money that's hurt you, forgiving the people that's hurt you. But the next step is the courage you're going to find on the inside is wonderful, but hopefully you find the courage to reach out to ask for help. So when I'm trying to learn about building abundance in my life, I'm going to go to the people who are doing the work. I don't even care if they're a millionaire or not, but I want to know how they're working on getting there, you know? And I also want to gain information from people who did the work to get to that next level. So surrounding yourselves with like-minded people who want to learn, who want to do the work, who want to build financial abundance in their life is really important. Like one of my things is now in my 40s, I never knew this before, but it came up in me. And I said, something I really want is to build is financial independence. I want to be independently wealthy. And I can see myself working in certain areas to create that for my future. So my future is abundant because I'm working towards getting that. So if I'm working towards getting 500 bucks, when 20 bucks comes into my life, I'm going to say, thank you. I'm only $480 away. Thank you. So you can't do it on your own. We're not meant to do life on our own. We're meant to show up for each other. We're meant to learn and grow together. And people say, okay, well, what is she talking about? I'm talking about not just having a financial advisor at a bank or, um, an investment broker. Those are very important things to helping us build intellectual IQ, right? But we also need the people who are going to feed us the food we need to find that courage inside to say, yeah, right now cash flow is tight, but think of the cash that's coming. It's coming.
And we've got about 5 minutes, 3 minutes before we got to kind of
Oh, okay. I want to share something. Sorry, keep going.
um, in addition, for those of you out there that are also looking at different avenues to find the courage, other ways is understanding. I like the way I was going to say Menno. I was going to say
Menno.
Mikhail.
That's
The
me.
two M's, the M and the M. So, Mikhail, I go back to your directness and your intention, what your clear intentions are of it. I really, really resonate with that. And I think when you talk about doing this work, and I think that we can expand a lot more of our energy, really harnessing once we understand the give forgiveness process, is really coming into the receivership process, is telling ourselves the truth of what we want. And it doesn't have to be, here's the beautiful thing. I had a previous,
It can't just be, I want more money.
right. And well, it has to be what you said, direct intention. I love the way that this previous guest on the show had articulated a certain thing. And it was like, nobody's in your head. So there's nobody there judging you but you. Nobody can tell what's going on. Nobody's there. So tell yourself the truth so it can get into your heart. And then when you actually receive it, that when you really receive the truth and come to terms with the truth of who you are in your heart where money is concerned, your automatic response will be thank you, because in your heart, you've already received it. So you can let it go and then it shows up. And I'm living proof of a lot of things in my life, not just money, but the minute you start to tell yourself the truth, and then you reconcile that truth, you already feel like you've received it. You say thank you automatically. It's just an automatic body response. It's like God designed that, intentionally designed it that way. And you feel the truth.
Right. And the truth is you are a spiritual being having a human experience.
Experience. Yes.
So we can use our emotions to help us understand, are we moving closer to our truth or are we moving further from it? So I view stuff that comes up as stuff that I can clear to bring me closer to my truth, right? So things that block money, for example, are anxiety, fear, and worry about money. When we project our money problems on other people, that blocks the flow of money from coming to us. Hatred, expressing any kind of hatred toward others, ourselves, don't forget, ourselves also blocks the flow of health, that energy for healing, right? And also the flow of money. If you're feeling ashamed or guilty, if you're carrying any of those feelings, you are also struggling with not feeling worthy. You are blocking the flow of money. And not just money, but happy money, because you could have money and feel all these things and still feel like you're not worthy. So you don't use it, you hoard it, or you don't share it with others. Okay. Numbing. If you're numbing out on emotion, you're numbing out on money. You're freezing the flow of money. You're freezing it. It's not going to flow to you. So some of the things that can help you to create more money in your life are things like loving yourselves more, loving others more. So like one of my mantras is love more. Just give it out so that abundance comes back to you, right? The deeper I can move into that energy of love. You know, when I hold my hands over people, you know, they think I'm just quiet, but really what I'm doing is I'm holding that high vibration of love and peace for them. That's what I'm doing. That's people are like, what do you do? That's what I'm doing. I don't know what else is going on, but that's what I'm doing.
Right. Right.
That's what I owe in this beautiful experience.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that's going to help is
We got 30 seconds, 8 o'clock. So we're wrapping up.
okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good. But you know, think about ways of working smarter so that you can honor the work you do and you don't feel so depleted. That will allow money to flow into your life.
Honor the work.
Be more kind to yourself. And also figuring out a way to help others is a wonderful way to make more money flow into your life, and being happy. Changing your mindset when it comes to money to one that creates happiness.
Well, Michaela, Thank you. Thank you very much for a
Oh,
lovely conversation.
welcome.
The courage to be wealthy. I really, really appreciate you, and I appreciate you for joining us this evening for our audience to learn a
Welcome.
little bit more. And hopefully we'll see you on Tanya Talks again in the future.
I would love to come back.
So there you have it, guys. Thank you for joining us this evening. We're a little bit over time today, and you can visit us next week. We'll be back next Tuesday. We'll be talking about opportunities with Sophie Audishow, and also you can follow Tanya Talks Tanya Talks 4 on Facebook or Instagram. You can also follow me at visit Tanya Ricketts. TanyaRicketts.com if you want to take your life to the next level with a breakthrough conversation on how you can learn how to have the courage to be wealthy. All right, guys. And you can also visit Michaela's handle on Michaela Meno on Instagram. Okay. Have a good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us. Bye-bye. Thank you, Michaela.
Bye.